The taxi pulled up to the familiar gate in Port Harcourt, just after midnight. Amanda's heart raced as she paid the driver, the humid night air thick with the scent of rain-soaked earth and diesel. 2 years in the UK. 2 years of late-night lectures, freezing winters, and endless video calls where she told James, "Soon, my love. We'll finally build the life we dreamed of." She had sacrificed everything. Family birthdays missed. Her mother's pleas to come home sooner. Every extra pound from her part-time job wired straight to their joint accounts so James could finish the house extension. Now she was back, suitcase in one hand, the spare key in the other, ready to surprise him. Ready to fall into his arms and never leave again. The gate creaked open. The porch light was on. Soft music drifted from inside, James's favorite slow song. Amanda smiled, tears already stinging her eyes. She turned the key, stepped in, and froze. A woman's laughter, light, intimate, nothing like her own, floated down the hallway. High heels by the door. A red silk scarf draped over the coat, rack that used to hold only James's jackets. The air smelled of expensive perfume, and something cooking that wasn't her jollof. Amanda's fingers tightened on the suitcase handle. Her stomach dropped. Because in the living room, under the warm glow of the lamp she had bought on their first anniversary, sat another woman. Legs crossed, wine glass in hand, laughing with the man Amanda had crossed oceans for. And James was smiling like he had never missed her at all. What happens when the home you fought for no longer belongs to you? Have you ever left everything behind for someone, counting down the days until you could run back into their arms, only to realize those arms might already be holding someone else? Take a second and imagine standing in your own doorway right now. What would you do? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. And if this already has your heart racing, hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Amanda had always been the fighter in their story. She and James met in their final year at the University of Port Harcourt. She was the quiet, ambitious girl from a modest family in Rumuomasai, the one who worked 2 part-time jobs while studying business administration. James was the charming final-year engineering student with big dreams and even bigger smiles. Their first date was at a small buka near the school gate. Plate of rice and pepper soup, shared laughter, and promises whispered under the flickering bulb. They married 6 months after graduation in a simple church ceremony. No lavish party, just love and the hope that tomorrow would be better. Amanda believed in them so fiercely that when the opportunity came for her to pursue a master's in the UK on partial scholarship, she didn't hesitate. James had looked into her eyes that night and said, "Go, baby. I'll hold everything down here. When you come back, we'll finish the house, start our family. I'll make you proud." So she left. The first year was hell. The cold, the loneliness, the 3 a.m. calls just to hear his voice. But Amanda pushed through. She took extra modules, worked night shifts at a supermarket in Manchester, skipped meals so she could send more money home. Every transfer came with a note. For the tiles in the living room, for the generator fuel, for Mum's hospital bill, tell her I love her. James always replied with photos, progress on the house extension, him smiling in their half-finished kitchen, captions like "Missing my queen." Can't wait. She sacrificed her 20s for this dream. No clubbing, no new clothes, no holidays. Her friends back home would tease her on WhatsApp. "Amanda, you're turning into a ghost." But she laughed it off. "When I return, we'll celebrate properly. James and I, we're building forever." Her mother warned her once, voice cracking over the phone. "My daughter, men change when the woman is far away. Be careful." Amanda had brushed it aside. "Mum, James is different. He's my rock." Now, standing in the doorway of the home she had funded from abroad, every sacrifice replayed in her mind like a cruel movie. The late nights she cried in her tiny UK room. The time she turned down invitations because she was saving every kobo. The way she defended James to her family when they said he wasn't sending enough updates. All of it had led her here. To the sound of another woman's laughter in the house she had built with her blood, sweat, and lonely tears. But what Amanda didn't know yet, what the next few minutes would brutally teach her, was that the betrayal had started long before her plane even touched down in Lagos. And the man she loved had been counting the days, not for her return, but for the day she would finally leave again. Amanda stood motionless in the doorway for what felt like forever, but it was probably only 10 seconds. 10 seconds of her brain screaming one word over and over. Mistake. This has to be a mistake. She forced a shaky breath and stepped forward, suitcase wheels scraping softly against the tiled floor she had chosen from pictures James sent her last year. The music kept playing, Fella's gentle saxophone now, covering the sound of her heartbeat hammering in her ears. Maybe it was his cousin Chioma visiting from Abuja. Maybe a colleague dropped by late with work files. Maybe the woman was a realtor showing the house to potential tenants, because James had decided to rent out the new wing while Amanda was away. A dozen innocent explanations rushed through her mind, each one more desperate than the last. She pictured the scene she had rehearsed 1,000 times on the flight from Heathrow. James opening the bedroom door in surprise, eyes wide, then pulling her into the tightest hug she'd ever felt. Him whispering, "You're really here," against her hair. The two of them laughing and crying at the same time while he carried her suitcase upstairs like it weighed nothing. Maybe he'd even cooked her favorite egusi soup. Maybe that was the smell drifting from the kitchen. She could already feel the relief washing over her. The explanation would be simple. She'd laugh at how silly she felt for panicking. They'd talk about setting a wedding anniversary redo since the first one was so small. They'd plan the baby they'd been postponing. Everything would snap back into place like it was always meant to. Amanda smoothed her travel-creased dress, tucked a stray braid behind her ear, and walked deeper into the house she had paid for with 2 years of her life. The living room opened up in front of her. James was on the 3-seater sofa, the one they bought together at that roadside furniture place in GRA. He wore the navy blue kaftan she sent him last Christmas. His arm rested casually along the backrest, fingers playing absently with the ends of a woman's long, glossy braids. The woman turned first. She was younger, maybe 26, 27, skin glowing under the lamplight, wearing a fitted off-shoulder top and gold hoop earrings that caught the light every time she moved. Her smile faltered for half a second when she saw Amanda, then bloomed again, polite and curious, like she was meeting one of James's old friends. James followed her gaze. For one heartbeat his face lit up. The same boyish grin Amanda had fallen in love with in their university days. "Amanda?" His voice cracked on her name. He stood so quickly the wine glass on the center table wobbled. She waited for the rush toward her. The apology for not picking her up from the airport. The explanation tumbling out. Instead he just stood there, frozen between the sofa and the coffee table, looking at her like she was a ghost who had walked in too early. The younger woman rose gracefully, smoothing her skirt. "Hi," she said, voice soft and warm. "You must be Amanda. James talks about you all the time." Amanda's mouth opened, but no sound came out. James finally moved, 3 slow steps toward her. "Baby, you're back early." "Early? Not you're home." "Not, I missed you so much I can't breathe." Just early. Like her arrival was an inconvenience on someone else's schedule. And in that single word, the dream Amanda had carried across the Atlantic cracked right down the middle. But she still clung to the pieces. She still told herself there had to be an explanation he hadn't said yet. Because the alternative, the one clawing at the edges of her mind, was too big, too final, to look at directly. Not yet. Amanda forced a smile that felt like it might shatter her face. "Surprise," she said, voice thinner than she wanted. James crossed the remaining distance and pulled her into a hug. It was brief, polite, almost careful, like he was afraid too much pressure would break something. His cologne was the same, but mixed now with the woman's perfume. Sweet jasmine and oud. Expensive. He stepped back, hands still on her shoulders. "You didn't tell me you were coming today. I wanted it to be a surprise." Amanda searched his eyes for the spark she used to see there. It was there, but dimmer. Guarded. "I finished my thesis defense 2 weeks early. I changed my ticket. Thought you'd like it." "I do. Of course I do." He glanced back at the woman, who was now standing near the dining table, arms loosely folded, watching them with calm interest. "This is Sophia," James said. "She's helping with some things around the house." Sophia gave a small wave. "Nice to finally meet you. James has shown me so many pictures." Amanda's gaze dropped to the red silk scarf again. Now she noticed it was tied loosely around the neck of a bottle of red wine on the sideboard. The same brand she used to buy for their anniversaries. 2 glasses. One still half full, with Sophia's lipstick print on the rim. The kitchen light was on. Pots clinked softly. Someone had been cooking. Amanda smelled stew, rich, peppery, with a hint of curry leaves. Not her recipe. Hers never had curry. You're cooking? Amanda asked, trying to keep her tone light. Sophia smiled. James said you love a good ofensola when you get back from travel. I thought I'd try my hand at it. Hope you don't mind. Ofensola, Amanda's comfort food. The one she taught James how to make during their first year of marriage. He used to burn the yam every time, and they'd end up laughing over burnt pots and takeaway. Now someone else was making it. In her kitchen. For him. I don't mind, Amanda heard herself say. The words tasted like ash. James rubbed the back of his neck. A nervous habit she knew too well. Why don't you sit, baby? You must be tired from the flight. I'll get your bag upstairs. He reached for the suitcase. Amanda didn't let go. I can manage. An awkward beat passed. Sophia drifted toward the kitchen. I'll check on the food. Call me if you need anything. When she disappeared around the corner, the silence between Amanda and James became loud. He lowered his voice. She's just a friend, okay? Helping out while you were away. The house got too quiet. Amanda looked around. New curtains, cream silk instead of the blue ones she'd chosen. A bigger TV on the wall. A framed photo on the mantelpiece. James and Sophia at a beach, arms around each other, sunset behind them. The frame was new. Silver. The kind she had once pointed out in a shop window and said, "We should get one like that someday." Someday had come. Just not for her. How long has she been helping? Amanda asked. James hesitated. Just a fraction too long. A few months. Since the new year. A few months. Amanda did the quick math. That was when the video calls started getting shorter. When his replies to her messages slowed from hours to days. When he said work was crazy busy, and he couldn't talk long. She felt the first real crack inside her chest. Not anger yet. Just cold, spreading dread. Because the house didn't just feel different. It felt occupied. And she was the guest who had arrived too late to reclaim her place. She looked at James, really looked at him. The man who used to finish her sentences, now couldn't finish a single explanation without looking away. And somewhere in the kitchen, the woman who had taken her place hummed softly while stirring the pot Amanda used to cook in. The unease wasn't subtle anymore. It was screaming. Amanda set the suitcase down slowly, as if any sudden movement might make the whole scene collapse like a bad dream. James cleared his throat. Let me explain. No rush, Amanda cut in, voice surprisingly steady. I've got time. She walked past him toward the center table. The wine bottle was open. 2 glasses. 1 lipstick stained. Beside it sat a small velvet box, open. Inside, a thin gold necklace with a tiny heart pendant. The kind of gift that says, I see you, rather than, I'm sorry I forgot our anniversary. She picked it up. The chain was still warm from someone's fingers. Pretty, she said. James stepped closer. It's for her birthday next month. I was showing Sophia. Showing Sophia, Amanda repeated. She set the box down exactly where it had been. Right. Sophia reappeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Amanda's favorite one, the yellow one with little embroidered flowers her mother had sent from the village. Dinner's almost ready, Sophia said cheerfully. Too cheerfully. Like she was hosting a guest instead of standing in the wreckage of someone else's marriage. Amanda turned to her. Really looked at her this time. Sophia was beautiful in that effortless way. Long lashes, full lips painted deep berry, collarbones sharp under golden brown skin. She carried herself like she belonged here. Like the space had already rearranged itself around her. How do you two know each other? Amanda asked. Sophia glanced at James. A quick, private look. The kind couples give when they're deciding who should speak first. Through work, James said quickly. She's in marketing at the new oil servicing company on Transamodi. We met at a networking event last October. October, Amanda echoed. 8 months ago. Before the calls started getting shorter. Before the, I'm tired, baby. Let's talk tomorrow texts became routine. Amanda felt something cold and heavy settle in her stomach. She walked to the mantelpiece. Lifted the silver-framed beach photo. You look happy here, she said to no one in particular. James winced. It was a team-building thing. The whole department went. Amanda turned the frame over. Engraved on the back in neat cursive. To my safe place, S. 2 Hearts, July 2025. July. 3 months before she was supposed to finish her program. Amanda set the frame down so carefully, it didn't even click against the wood. Then she looked straight at James. How long? He blinked. What? How long has she been sleeping in my bed? The room went dead quiet, except for the faint sizzle of stew on the stove. Sophia's smile vanished. She took one step back, like the question had physically pushed her. James opened his mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Amanda, it's not. Don't, she said. Not loud. Just final. Don't lie to me in my own house. Not tonight. He looked down at the floor. The same floor he once promised to retile himself, because she hated the old cream ones. 6 months, he whispered. 6 months. Half a year of her life. Half a year of her sending money, crying alone in student accommodation, telling herself, just a little longer. While another woman slept beside the man she married. Amanda felt the air leave her lungs in a slow, painful rush. She turned to Sophia. Did you know he was married? Sophia's eyes filled instantly. Yes. He told me everything. He said you two were basically separated. That the distance had killed it. That you were only staying together because of the house and the investment. Amanda laughed, a short, broken sound. Separated. She looked back at James. Is that what you told yourself too? That we were separated? He couldn't meet her eyes. The silence stretched until it hurt. Then Amanda did the one thing she hadn't planned on doing. She reached into her handbag, pulled out her phone, and opened their joint banking app. The one she still had full access to because James had never bothered changing the passwords. She scrolled. Last transfer from her UK account. 3 weeks ago. 2,800,000 Nigerian nairas for final house finishing. Before that, rent for his mother's shop space. School fees for his younger sister. Even the deposit for a new car, he said, was for family emergencies. Every single one approved by her. She looked up. So while I was paying for this life, she said quietly, you were building another one. With her. James finally spoke. Voice hoarse. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. But it did. Amanda nodded once, like she was confirming something for herself. Then she turned and walked toward the staircase. Where are you going? James asked, panic creeping in. To see how much of my money is left in the mattress you two have been sleeping on. She didn't wait for an answer. She climbed the stairs she had only seen in photos. And with every step, the girl who had sacrificed everything began to die inside the woman who was about to fight for what was left. The master bedroom smelled of Sophia. Not just perfume, coconut oil, shea butter lotion, the faint sweetness of vanilla candles that had burned low. Amanda's own scent, lemongrass and eucalyptus body cream, had been erased. She stood in the doorway. The bed was made, hospital corners, the way James never used to bother with. New duvet cover, soft grey, expensive looking. Not the cream one she'd ordered online and had shipped from Dubai. Her dressing table had been cleared. Her perfume bottles, hair products, the little wooden jeweler box her father carved for her before he passed, gone. In their place, a sleek vanity mirror ringed with bulbs, a row of high-end makeup, a crystal perfume tray holding 3 bottles she'd never seen before. She opened the wardrobe. Half was still hers, dresses, blouses, the few pairs of shoes she'd left behind. The other half overflowed with Sophia's clothes. Silk blouses, bodycon dresses, a leopard print kimono hanging like it owned the space. At the bottom, her old suitcase, the big black one she used for their honeymoon, was pushed to the very back corner. Someone had stacked Sophia's travel bags on top of it. Amanda pulled her own suitcase out. The zippers were stiff from disuse. She knelt. Under the bed, her side nothing. No slippers. No novels. No charging cable she used to leave plugged in. His side. A pair of men's leather slides she didn't recognize. A watch box. A half-empty pack of condoms. She sat back on her heels. Then she noticed the bedside drawer on her side was slightly open. She pulled it. Inside, her old diary, the one she wrote in during their first year of marriage. Pages filled with dreams of babies, a bigger house, traveling together after she finished school. Someone had used it as a bookmark. A folded piece of paper stuck out between the pages. Amanda opened it. A hospital receipt. Sophia's name. Gynecology department. Dated January 14th, 2026. Diagnosis. Early pregnancy. 8 weeks. Amanda stared at the date. 8 weeks in January meant conception sometime in November. She had spoken to James on New Year's Eve. He'd sounded distracted, said he was at a friend's place watching football. She remembered telling him, "Next year we'll be together for real. No more distance." He'd said, "Can't wait, baby." Now she knew why he couldn't wait. She folded the paper carefully, slipped it into her bra. Then she stood, walked to the ensuite bathroom. Her toothbrush was gone. Her face wash, her towel, a new set, pink and fluffy, hung on her hook. On the counter, prenatal vitamins. Unopened, she picked up the bottle. The label read, "For her healthy start, love, Jay." Amanda closed her eyes. When she opened them again, something inside her had shifted. Not broken, sharpened. She walked back downstairs. James and Sophia were in the living room. He was pacing. She was sitting on the arm of the sofa, arms wrapped around herself. They both looked up when Amanda appeared at the bottom of the stairs. She held the hospital receipt between two fingers like it was evidence in court. "Congratulations," she said. James's face drained of color. Sophia stood. "Amanda, save it." Amanda walked to the center table, picked up the velvet box with the necklace, and dropped it into her handbag. Then she looked at James. "I want every single thing I paid for itemized. Receipts, transfers, screenshots. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Here." He swallowed. "Amanda, or I call a lawyer tonight. And trust me, I know good ones in Lagos who don't play nice." She turned to Sophia. "And you enjoy the ofen sola. It's the last meal you'll cook in this kitchen." She picked up her suitcase, walked to the door, paused, looked back at the man she once believed would never hurt her. "You should have just told me you fell out of love," she said quietly. "I would have let you go with dignity. Instead, you let me fund your new life while I starved for hours." She opened the door. The night air rushed in, cool, heavy with coming rain. She stepped out, and for the first time in 2 years, Amanda didn't feel like the one running towards something. She felt like the storm that was finally arriving. The next morning at 8:55 a.m., Amanda sat in the same taxi that dropped her off the night before. Same driver, Mr. Good News, who recognized her immediately and asked no questions when she said, "Back to the same place." She had spent the night at a small hotel in GRA, the kind with clean sheets and no questions asked. Slept maybe 2 hours. The rest of the time she spent on her phone. Screenshots, bank statements, call logs, WhatsApp chats archived but never deleted. Every transfer she'd ever made. Every "I love you" voice note James sent while she was freezing in Manchester. Evidence is quiet until you need it to scream. She arrived at 8:58. The gate was open. James's car was still parked in the driveway. The Toyota he said he needed for site visits. Paid for with her last big transfer. She walked in without knocking. James was in the living room, dressed for work, but looking like he hadn't slept either. Eyes red-rimmed. Shirt slightly wrinkled. Sophia was nowhere in sight. Amanda set her handbag on the center table. Pulled out a thin folder she'd printed at a business center at 6 a.m. "Sit," she said. He sat. She remained standing. "Where is she?" Sophia left early. Said she didn't want to make things worse. Amanda gave a dry laugh. "Consider it." She opened the folder. Page 1. Transfers from my UK account to our joint account. 47,800,000 Nigerian nairas over 24 months. Page 2. Withdrawals and spending. New generator. Solar panels. Car. Furniture. Rent for your mother's new shop. Your sister's school fees. Even the deposit for the land you said was for our future retirement. James stared at the papers like they might burn him. Page 3 messages. The ones you sent me saying, "Work is stressful. I'm tired. Can't talk long." While you were building this. She tapped the beach photo on the mantelpiece. Page 4, hospital receipt. January. 8 weeks pregnant. Meaning conception in November. The same month you told me you were too busy to fly out for my birthday. James's shoulders dropped. "I'm not going to ask why," Amanda continued. "I already know why. You got comfortable. I was far away, sending money, loving you from a distance. You didn't have to try anymore. Then someone younger, prettier, closer showed up. And you chose easy." He looked up. Voice cracked. "I still love you, Amanda. I swear. This was never the plan." "Then what was the plan, James? To keep me paying the bills while you played house with her? To let me come back, see everything, And then what? Beg you to choose me. He rubbed his face with both hands. I thought when you came back things would just go back. Amanda leaned forward, palms flat on the table. Look at me. He did. Slowly. You thought I would walk in, see her, see the new curtains, the new bed, the pregnancy test vitamins, and just accept it? Say, okay, I understand, distance is hard. You thought I would cry, pack half my things, and leave quietly so you could keep the house I paid for. Silence. She straightened. Here's what's happening. This house is in both our names. I have the title documents. I also have every bank statement showing I funded 92% of the construction and finishing. The lawyer I spoke to at 7 a.m. says community property laws in Nigeria are clear. Contribution matters, especially when one party was abroad earning the money. James's eyes widened. You already spoke to a lawyer? I spoke to 3. Picked the meanest one. She slid another sheet across the table. Option A, you buy me out. Full market value of my contribution plus interest. Cash. Within 90 days. Or we sell the house, split proceeds according to contribution. I take my share, you take yours. Sophia can move wherever she wants after that. James stared at the paper. Option B, I file for divorce immediately. Adultery. Financial misconduct. Emotional abuse through sustained deception. I ask for the house, full ownership transfer, and compensation for emotional distress. The courts don't like men who let their wives slave abroad while they impregnate side chicks in the matrimonial home. He whispered, Amanda, please. Please what? Please don't take back what's mine. Please let you keep the life I built while you betrayed me. Tears slipped down his face now. Real ones. I messed up. I know. But we've been together 10 years. 10 years, baby. Doesn't that count for something? It did. Until 6 months ago, when you decided 10 years wasn't enough to stay faithful. She closed the folder. I'm not screaming. I'm not throwing things. I'm not begging. That version of me died last night, when I saw her lipstick on the glass I bought. James reached for her hand. She pulled back. Don't. He dropped his hand. I'll give you 24 hours to think. Talk to your people. Talk to Sophia. Decide which option you want. But know this. Either way, I'm walking out of this marriage with what belongs to me. And if you fight dirty, I will bury you in court. She picked up her handbag, turned toward the door, paused. One last thing, she said without looking back. The baby. If it's yours, congratulations. Truly. But don't expect me to pay school fees, hospital bills, or rent for whatever new place you'll need. That chapter is closed. She opened the door. The morning sun hit her face, bright, merciless. She stepped out, and for the first time since she landed, Amanda felt something close to power returning to her hands. That evening, Amanda sat in the hotel room with a cup of Lipton tea gone cold. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Friends, cousins, even her mother who somehow already knew something was wrong. She ignored them all. Instead, she opened the voice recorder app and played back a conversation she'd secretly recorded last night before leaving the house. She hadn't planned to. But when she went upstairs to pack a few things, she'd left her phone on the bedside table, still recording from an earlier voice note to her best friend. James and Sophia hadn't noticed. Their voices came through tinny but clear. James, she knows. She saw the receipt. Sophia, crying. I told you to tell her months ago. You said you would handle it. James, I was going to. But every time she called, she sounded so happy. So hopeful. I couldn't. Sophia. And the money? She's going to find out about the other account. Amanda froze the recording. Other account? She rewound. Played again. James. Low. She doesn't know about the second joint account. The one in my name only now. I moved most of the last transfers there. For us. For the baby. Sophia. James, if she finds out. James, she won't. I changed the login. She still thinks it's the old one. Amanda felt the room tilt. She opened her banking app again. Logged into the joint account she'd always used. Balance. 184,000 Nigerian nairas. Last transfer from her. 3 weeks ago. 2.8 million Nigerian nairas. Gone. She logged out. Tried the old password on the secondary email James once gave her, in case of emergency. It worked. Second account. 31,400,000 Nigerian nairas. Recent activity. Transfer to a new account in Sophia's name. 8 million Nigerian nairas labeled maternity hospital deposit. Another 4.2 million Nigerian nairas to a car dealership. Balance payment, new SUV. Date, 2 weeks ago. Amanda stared at the screen until her eyes burned. He hadn't just cheated. He had stolen from her. Systematically. For months. Every "I'm proud of you, baby" message had been cover while he quietly siphoned the money she bled for. She forwarded everything, screenshots, timestamps, account numbers, to her lawyer's WhatsApp. Then she called the lawyer. "Add financial fraud and diversion of funds to the petition," she said. Voice flat. "I want it all back. Every kobo. Plus damages." The lawyer paused. "Mrs. Amanda, this could get ugly. Criminal charges ugly." "Good," she said. "Let it." She ended the call. Lay back on the hotel bed. Stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles. And for the first time since she walked into that house, she didn't cry. She calculated. She planned. She remembered every promise James ever broke. And she decided. Mercy was no longer on the table. Amanda didn't go back to the hotel after the confrontation. Instead, she asked Mr. Goodnews to drive her straight to a quiet cyber cafe in GRA Phase 2. One of those places still using old desktop computers with fans that sounded like helicopters. She paid for 2 hours, sat in the corner booth, and got to work. First, she changed every password she could remember. Email, banking apps, cloud storage where she kept scanned copies of property documents, marriage certificate, even old university transcripts. James had never bothered learning her complex passwords. He always used variations of her birthday or their wedding date. Easy. Next, she logged into the old Google Drive folder they shared for family documents. Still there. She downloaded everything. House title deed, land survey plan, payment receipts from contractors, even the architect's invoice she'd paid directly from her UK account. She zipped the folder, emailed it to herself and to her lawyer, then deleted her login activity from the browser history. She opened a new Gmail account. Amanda.rebuildpoint2026. No phone number linked. No recovery options pointing back to James. She forwarded every important email chain from the last 2 years there. By the time her 2 hours were up, the girl who once trusted blindly was gone. In her place sat a woman making lists. List 1. Assets in her name or jointly funded. List 2. People who owed her favors. Old classmates now lawyers. A cousin in the EFCC. University friends in banking. List 3. Timeline of every lie she could prove with timestamps. She walked out of the cyber cafe into the late afternoon heat feeling lighter. Not because the pain had left, God, no, but because she had finally stopped waiting for James to hand her back her dignity. She took another taxi, this time to her mother's house in Rumuomasai. Mama opened the door before Amanda even knocked. Eyes already red. Word travels fast in Port Harcourt. "My daughter." Mama pulled her inside, arms tight. "I heard. Chioma called me crying. Said James has another woman pregnant." Amanda didn't cry. She just held her mother for a long minute, breathing in the familiar smell of yam porridge and menthol bomb. "I'm not here to cry, Mama," she said when they finally separated. "I'm here to plan." They sat at the small plastic table in the parlor. Mama made tea. Amanda spread her printed documents out like battle plans. "I'm not losing that house," she told her mother. "Not after everything. But I'm also not staying married to a thief." Mama listened quietly, nodding. "You were always the strong one," she said at last. "Even when you were small. But strength without wisdom is just noise. What do you want at the end of this, Amanda? The house? The money? Or your peace?" Amanda looked at the documents, then at her mother's lined face. "All three," she said. "But peace most." That night she slept in her childhood room. Single bed, faded posters of Two-Face and Destiny's Child still taped to the wall. For the first time in 2 years, she didn't check her phone for a good night, baby from James. She slept deeply. The next morning she woke early, showered, dressed in a simple black trouser suit she'd bought in Manchester for job interviews she never needed, because she always planned to come home to him. She called her lawyer. "File it," she said. "Everything. Adultery. Fraud. Diversion of funds. Emotional distress. I want a freezing order on all joint accounts and his personal accounts if you can get it." The lawyer sounded almost impressed. You sure? This will make reconciliation impossible. I don't want reconciliation, Amanda said. I want justice. And then I want to disappear from his life, like he tried to make me disappear from mine. She ended the call, looked at herself in the cracked mirror above the dresser. For the first time, the woman staring back didn't look tired. She looked dangerous. And when her phone buzzed with James's name on the screen, 17 missed calls, 3 voice notes, she didn't answer. She let it ring. Let him feel what it was like to reach and touch only silence. 2 days later, the lawyer called Amanda while she was eating breakfast with her mother. Turn on Channels TV, the lawyer said. Now. Amanda grabbed the remote. The news ticker at the bottom. Rivers State. Oil servicing firm executive arrested in multi-million naira fraud case. The anchor's voice filled the parlor. Following a petition by his estranged wife, Mr. James Okoye, senior project manager at Apex Oil Services Limited, was taken into custody this morning by EFCC operatives. Sources say the complaint alleges systematic diversion of funds from a joint marital account, amounting to over 35 million Nigerian nairas, much of which was allegedly used to finance a second relationship and properties not disclosed to the petitioner. Footage: James being led out of their house in handcuffs. Head down, shirt untucked. Sophia standing in the doorway, hand over her mouth, visibly pregnant now under a loose dress. Amanda watched without blinking. Mama reached over and held her hand. The anchor continued. Documents obtained by this station show that Mr. Okoye allegedly opened a parallel account shortly after his wife traveled abroad for studies, redirecting several large transfers intended for family property development. Investigators also recovered title documents for a 3-bedroom flat in Woji purchased in the name of a Miss Sophia Amodi. Amanda muted the TV. She felt nothing at first, just a strange ringing in her ears. Then her lawyer spoke again. He's asking to see you. Says he'll sign anything if you drop the criminal complaint. Amanda exhaled slowly. Tell him no. Amanda. No. He doesn't get to bargain now. He gets to face consequences. Same way I faced 2 years of loneliness, 2 years of hoping, 2 years of believing. She ended the call. Her mother looked at her. You sure this is what you want? Prison is no small thing. I didn't put him there, Amanda said quietly. His choices did. Every time he moved money. Every time he lied. Every time he chose her over the vows he made in front of God and people. Mama nodded slowly. Later that evening, a WhatsApp message came from an unknown number. It's Sophia. Please, just hear me out. I didn't know how deep it went. He told me the money was his bonus. He said you agreed to separate. I never wanted to destroy your marriage. I'm scared for my baby. Please call me. Amanda stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed one line. You should have asked for proof before you moved into my house and my life. She blocked the number. But the real twist, the one that made her sit down hard on the parlor sofa, came the next morning. Her lawyer forwarded an email from the EFCC investigator. Attached, bank statements from James's company account. One line jumped out. A transfer of 15 million Nigerian nairas, dated 4 months ago, to Amanda's education fund. But she had never received it. She called the lawyer back. That money, where did it go? The lawyer sighed. We traced it. James withdrew it in cash 2 days after the transfer. No record after that. Amanda closed her eyes. So not only had he stolen what she sent, he had stolen from his own company, using her name as cover. And now the EFCC was looking at her too, because her name was on the receiving end of a fraudulent transaction. She was no longer just the victim. She was potentially part of the investigation. The game had changed again. And this time, the stakes weren't just her marriage or her house. They were her freedom. Amanda didn't panic. She had learned, in the last 72 hours, that panic was a luxury she could no longer afford. Instead, she called her lawyer again, this time from the small balcony of her mother's house, the evening breeze carrying the smell of someone frying plantain down the street. Send me everything they have on that 15 million Nigerian nairas transfer, she said. Every email, every memo, every signature page where my name appears. The lawyer hesitated. Amanda, if your name is forged or misused. It wasn't forged, she cut in. James had power of attorney over my accounts during the first year I was away. I gave it willingly, for emergencies. He never revoked it. Check the date on the document. It's still valid. A long pause. You kept that? I keep everything, Amanda said. I just didn't know I'd need it like this. Within an hour, the documents arrived in her new email. Power of attorney. Signed by her in a rush at Murtala Muhammad Airport before boarding her flight to London. Notarized, stamped. It gave James authority to act on her behalf for financial, property, and educational matters, until she returned or revoked it in writing. She had never revoked it, because she trusted him. Now that trust was her shield. She forwarded the power of attorney scan to her lawyer with one line. Use this. Show the FCC I authorized access to my funds. The fraud is his misappropriation after the fact, not mine. I'm the complainant, not the suspect. The lawyer called back 20 minutes later. They're dropping any suspicion on you. The investigator says your name was only used as a pass-through label. James authorized the internal transfer at Apex Oil using company procedure, claiming it was reimbursement for your education sponsorship. But the cash withdrawal, that's all him. No trace after he collected it. Amanda exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. And the house? Freezing order is in place on all marital assets. He can't sell, transfer, or mortgage anything without court approval, including the Woji flat in Sophia's name. If they prove it was bought with diverted funds, it can be clawed back. Amanda looked out at the streetlights flickering on one by one. Good. She ended the call. Then she opened her notes app and added one more item to her growing list. Revoke power of attorney. Today, she drafted the revocation letter herself, short, formal, dated, signed in blue ink. Scanned it. Sent copies to her lawyer, the bank, and, out of pure spite, a courtesy copy to James's company HR email. No message. Just the attachment titled, Revocation _fund for her _fund attorney effective immediately. She imagined him opening it in whatever holding cell or lawyer's office he was in right now. Let him feel the click of the last door closing. Later that night, her phone rang. Unknown number. Port Harcourt prefix. She answered. Mrs. Okoye? A man's voice. Deep. Official. Yes. This is Inspector Chukwu, FCC Port Harcourt Zonal Command. We need you to come in tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. Your statement will help seal the case. Mr. Okoye has made a full confession. He's cooperating. Amanda didn't smile. She didn't feel triumph. Just clarity. I'll be there. She hung up. Then she walked into the parlor where her mother was watching a Nollywood movie, volume low. Mama, she said softly. Tomorrow I finish this. Her mother muted the TV. You sure? I'm sure. Mama reached for her hand. Then go finish it. But when it's done, come home and rest. Not just your body. Your heart too. Amanda squeezed her mother's fingers. I will. She went to bed that night with the revocation letter already filed in her mind like a receipt. Proof that she had finally taken back control. Not with shouting, not with tears, but with paper, procedure, and cold precision. The girl who once begged for love was gone. The woman who demanded justice had arrived. And tomorrow, she would look James in the eye one last time. Not as his wife, but as the one holding every card. The FCC office smelled of old files, instant coffee, and air conditioner on its last legs. Amanda arrived at 8:45 a.m. in a plain navy dress, hair in a neat bun, no makeup. She carried only her folder and a small bottle of water. Inspector Chukwu met her in a small interview room. Mid-40s. Tired eyes but kind voice. Thank you for coming, Ma. This won't take long. He slid a statement form across the table. Amanda read it carefully. It summarized everything she had already told her lawyer. The transfers, the lies, the pregnancy, the second account, the Woji property. She signed without hesitation. Then Inspector Chukwu leaned forward. There's something else. We received an anonymous tip last night. A USB drive dropped at our gate. No note. Just the drive. He plugged it into a laptop. A single video file opened. Grainy CCTV footage. Time-stamped 3 weeks ago, 11:47 p.m., from the lobby of an upscale hotel in GRA. James and Sophia entering. His arm around her waist. Her laughing. They took the lift. Cut to another angle. Corridor outside a suite. James unlocking the door. But then, someone else appeared. A woman. Tall. wearing a baseball cap pulled low, oversized hoodie. She waited until they were inside, then slipped a small envelope under the door. The timestamp jumped forward 30 minutes. James opened the door in a bathrobe, picked up the envelope, looked around confused. He opened it. His face changed, shock then fear. He went back inside. The video ended. Inspector Chukwu paused the screen on James's expression. We ran facial recognition on the woman in the hoodie. Low confidence, but the build, the gait, matches someone we've seen in other footage. He opened another file. A still photo. The same hooded woman walking past an ATM 2 days earlier. Amanda stared. The side profile. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear, even under the cap. She knew that gesture. It was Chioma, James's cousin. The one who had called Amanda's mother crying. The one who always said family first. Amanda felt the floor shift under her. Chioma, she whispered. Inspector Chukwu nodded slowly. We brought her in this morning. She's in the next room. She says she did it to protect you. Amanda's mouth went dry. Protect me? She claims she knew about the affair for over a year. She confronted James. He begged her not to tell you. Said you'd be devastated, that he'd end it. When he didn't, she started gathering evidence. Bank statements, hotel receipts, messages. She compiled everything on that drive. Dropped it here because she was scared he'd find out and hurt her. Or hurt you financially even more. Amanda closed her eyes. Chioma. The same Chioma who had FaceTimed her last Christmas, laughing about how James was too busy to join family lunch. All that time watching, waiting, collecting. Why didn't she just tell me? Amanda asked. She said she tried, subtly, dropping hints in calls. But you were always so positive about him. She didn't want to be the one to break your heart unless she had undeniable proof. Inspector Chukwu sighed. She's crying in there. Says she's sorry she didn't do more sooner. But she's also the reason we moved so fast on the arrest. Amanda sat back. A cousin she barely spoke to anymore had quietly waged a one-woman war to save her from ruin. The betrayal was deep, but so was the loyalty hiding underneath. She looked at the frozen image of James's frightened face. For the first time, she felt something close to pity. Not enough to stop what was coming. Just enough to understand that everyone in this story had been bleeding in their own way. She stood. I'd like to speak to Chioma. Privately. The inspector nodded. And when the door to the next room opened, Chioma looked up, eyes swollen, mascara streaked. And the first word out of her mouth was, I'm so sorry, Mandy. Amanda didn't hug her, but she didn't walk away either. She sat and listened, because sometimes the biggest twist isn't the knife in your back. It's the hand that was quietly catching you the whole time you were falling. Amanda sat across from Chioma in the small FCC interview room. No handcuffs, no glass partition, just 2 plastic chairs, a scarred table, and the low hum of an old fan. Chioma looked smaller than Amanda remembered, shoulders hunched, fingers twisting the hem of her hoodie. I never wanted you to find out like this, Chioma started, voice barely above a whisper. I thought, if I collected enough, I could show you quietly. Over tea. Like sisters. Not in a police station. Amanda didn't interrupt. She just listened. I saw him with her the first time at that company end-of-year party, Chioma continued. November last year. They were in the car park, kissing like teenagers. I took a picture, told him to end it or I'd tell you. He cried, said it was a mistake, said he loved you too much to lose you. I believed him because he's family, and you were family too. Amanda felt the old ache flare, but she kept her face still. Then the money started moving funny, Chioma said. I work in accounts at a different branch. I saw the transfers coming in from your UK account. Then I saw withdrawals. Big ones. I asked him. He said it was for the house. But the house looked the same. Then I saw Sophia driving the new SUV. Wearing the necklace he showed me on WhatsApp, saying it was for someone special. I knew. She wiped her eyes roughly. I kept copies. Every suspicious transaction. Hotel bookings under his name, but paid from the company account he shouldn't have touched. Receipts for baby shopping. I thought if I waited till you came back, I could hand it all to you and we'd face him together. But then you came home early, and everything exploded. Amanda finally spoke. Quiet. Even. Why the anonymous drop? Why not just send it to me? Chioma looked up, eyes pleading. Because I was scared you'd hate me for knowing and not telling you sooner. Or that you'd forgive him anyway, like you always forgave the small things. I thought the FCC would force the truth out clean. No room for lies. No way for him to sweet-talk his way back. Amanda let the silence sit between them. Then she asked the only question that still mattered. Do you think he ever loved me? Really? Chioma swallowed. I think he did. Once. But love isn't static. It either grows or it rots. His rotted when you left. And instead of watering it, he planted something new. Amanda nodded once. Slow. She stood. I'm not pressing charges against you, she said. You saved me more money than I can count. More pain than I want to admit. But we're not sisters anymore. Not like before. You chose silence too long. I needed truth sooner. Chioma's tears fell freely now. I know. Amanda walked to the door. At the threshold she paused. Thank you anyway, she said. For the USB. For not letting me come home blind. She left without looking back. Later that afternoon, in her lawyer's office downtown, Amanda signed the final papers. Divorce petition filed. Irreconcilable differences cited. Adultery proven. Financial misconduct detailed in 47 pages of exhibits. She waived spousal support. She didn't want his money anymore. She wanted the house sold. Proceeds split according to contribution. 92% to her. 8% to him after court valuation. The Woji flat would be liquidated if proven to be proceeds of fraud. Money returned to the marital pot. James's company had already suspended him pending internal investigation. The FCC case would run parallel. Prison time was likely. 2 to 7 years if convicted on all counts. She didn't attend the first court hearing. No need. Her lawyer handled it. When the judge granted the interim order freezing assets and awarding her exclusive possession of the matrimonial home pending final sale, Amanda felt the last chain snap. She drove to the house that evening. Alone. The locks had already been changed, court order. Sophia's things were gone. Packed in haste, judging by the scuff marks on the floor. Amanda walked through every room. Touched the walls she paid for. The tiles she chose from photos. The kitchen counter, where she once dreamed of feeding children who would never exist with this man. She didn't cry. She opened windows. Let the evening breeze carry out the last traces of jasmine perfume. Then she locked the door behind her. Drove back to her mother's house. Took a long shower. And for the first time in years, slept without checking her phone for a message that would never come. 3 months later, the house sold in a quiet private sale. Amanda took her share, Nigerian naira 68 million, after legal fees and taxes. More than she ever imagined sending home in installments. She bought a smaller 2-bedroom flat in Elelanwo. Nothing flashy. Clean lines. Big windows. A tiny balcony where she could sit with tea and watch the sun set over the city she'd fought to return to. She started a small consulting business, helping Nigerian students navigate UK postgraduate applications and funding. She knew the system inside out, knew the loneliness, knew which scholarships actually paid and which were traps. Word spread fast. Within weeks she had 8 clients. Within months, 23. Her mother moved in with her for a while. Not because she needed to, but because they both wanted the company. They cooked together, laughed at old Nollywood movies, talked about everything except James. Amanda didn't date. Not yet. She told herself she was healing, but really she was learning to enjoy her own company again. Long walks in Isaac Borough Park, reading novels she'd abandoned years ago, buying herself flowers just because. She saw James once more, across the courtroom during the final divorce hearing. He looked thinner, eyes hollow. No Sophia beside him. She'd left Port Harcourt shortly after his arrest, back to her family in Owerri. He tried to catch her eye. She didn't look away, but she didn't soften either. Just nodded once, like acknowledging a stranger who once shared her life. The judge pronounced the marriage dissolved. Amanda walked out into sunlight that felt brand new. Chioma sent a message 6 weeks later. Short. Heard the house sold. Glad you got what was yours. I'm moving to Abuja for a new job. If you ever need anything. I'm still sorry, but I'm proud of you. Amanda read it twice, then replied, Safe travels. Take care of yourself. She didn't block the number, but she didn't save it either. Some bridges burn clean. Others just fade. She chose fade. One evening, 6 months after everything, Amanda sat on her balcony with a glass of red wine, the same brand James used to buy. She sipped slowly. Her phone buzzed. A notification from her bank app. Final transfer cleared. For 0.2 million Nigerian nairas from the liquidated Woji flat. The last piece. She smiled, small private. Opened her laptop. Drafted an email to her first big client, who'd just received her UK visa. Congratulations. You did the hard part. The rest is just showing up. She hit send. Then leaned back. Looked at the city lights spreading below her like scattered stars. She wasn't the same woman who landed at Port Harcourt airport with hope in her suitcase. She was better, stronger, free, and for the first time in a long time, peaceful. Betrayal doesn't always come with shouting or slammed doors. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in shorter calls, in polite smiles that don't reach the eyes, in new curtains you never chose, in the way someone stops saying your name the same way. Amanda learned the hardest truth of all. Love is not proven by sacrifice alone. Sacrifice without mutual honor is just slow self-erasure. You can cross oceans, skip meals, wire every spare kobo home, and still wake up one day to find your place has been quietly reassigned. Trust is not blind faith. It's a contract renewed daily, through honesty, through small consistent acts, through the courage to say, I'm struggling, instead of hiding behind smiles and new perfume in your bedroom. When one person stops renewing that contract, the other doesn't have to keep paying the full price. People change, not always for the worse, but sometimes for someone else. And when they do, the most powerful response isn't revenge or begging, it's subtraction. Subtract yourself from the equation that no longer adds up. Subtract the guilt that says, maybe if I had stayed closer. Subtract the version of you that believed love means enduring anything. What remains is not emptiness. It's space. Space to rebuild without apology. Space to choose yourself without negotiation. Space to realize that the strongest love you'll ever have is the one you give back to the woman who crossed an ocean for a promise, and still had the strength to walk away when the promise turned to dust. James taught Amanda betrayal. Sophia taught her boundaries. Chioma taught her that loyalty can hide in silence. But silence has its own cost. Most of all, though, Amanda taught herself the quietest, most dangerous truth of all. A woman who has lost everything she once lived for is finally free to live for herself. And that kind of freedom? It doesn't ask for permission. It simply arrives and stays. 1 year later, Port Harcourt at golden hour. The sun melts low over the Bonny River, turning the water into liquid fire. Amanda stands on her small balcony, barefoot, a simple white linen dress catching the breeze. In her hand, a single red hibiscus flower she picked from the bush downstairs. She twirls it slowly between her fingers. Below, the city hums, Okadas weaving through traffic, children laughing in the compound next door, someone playing High Life from an open window. She lifts her phone, opens the camera, switches to selfie mode. No filter, no perfect angle, just her, eyes clear, small smile that finally belongs to her alone. She presses record. Hi, it's me, Amanda. If you're watching this, it means I finally finished editing that video I promised myself I'd make. The one about starting over. I don't have a fancy house anymore. I don't have the man I thought was forever. But I have mornings where I wake up, and the first thought isn't, does he still love me? It's, what do I want today? And today, I want peace. I want laughter that isn't borrowed. I want love that doesn't cost me my dignity. To anyone out there carrying a suitcase full of hope across an ocean, or across a city, or just across the room to face the truth. You are enough. Even when they forget. Even when they leave. Even when the house you built gets sold. You are still standing. And that's the only ending that matters. She stops recording. Looks straight into the lens one last time. Then she turns the camera toward the sunset. The screen fills with orange and gold. A bird flies low across the river. The high life music swells just a little louder. She sets the phone down, tucks the hibiscus behind her ear, takes one deep breath of river air, salt and diesel and possibility. Then she walks inside, sliding the balcony door closed behind her. The light catches the new brass nameplate on the wall beside the door. Amanda and Kem. Home. This story is storytelling by Divine Tales. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment for more powerful stories.